Action.
How many of you have consumed alcohol? Actually, don't answer that. But think about it, and think about why you did. I'm going to assume you didn't do it because you saw an advertisement where someone was drinking and you thought, I want to do that. Because despite what many people say, advertising really isn't that big of an influence on children in relation to their actions, where a restriction should not be placed on marketing that targets children. According to David Jernigan, a Johns Hopkins professor, we know that the more kids are exposed to alcohol marketing, the more likely they are to start drinking or drink more. However, this isn't the case. A University of Texas study shows that alcohol marketing has increased by more than 400% since 1971. And if what Professor Jernigan claims about the impact of advertising is true, then there should also be an increase in underage consumption. But it's actually the opposite of what's happening. A 2016 survey states that alcohol consumption levels among all age groups that were surveyed, which were 8th, 10th, and 12th grade students, are at their lowest level of alcohol consumption since they began collecting the data in the early 1990s. Also, the Federal Trade Commission, also referenced as the FTC, found that there is no reliable bias to conclude that alcohol advertising significantly affects consumption, let alone abuse. However, this isn't to say alcohol advertisements don't have an impact on people's purchase of certain alcohol. The University of Texas study says that while alcohol marketing will rarely cause a non-drinker to pick up a drink or a casual drinker to substantially increase his weekly alcohol intake, advertisements do alter people's preferences. Like, instead of ordering your usual drink, people might spend more on a higher-end brand, which to me seems like the real reason companies spend so much money on advertisements is to impact the brand choices for adults, not entice kids to start drinking. Now, as a normal teenager should, we all enjoy some junk food from time to time, right? Well, whether it be chocolate, chips, popcorn, or anything that tastes amazing but unfortunately has a high level of sugar or salt. And when we shop at the store with our parents, it's easy to ask for chips and cookies as snacks for lunch rather than fruits or vegetables because, well, you know which one tastes better. But it's not like we don't have a choice of what we want. The government of Canada seems to believe advertising impacts how we shop for our food and that there are plenty of junk food commercials that lure kids and parents into buying their products. I've surely seen a large number of unhealthy snack commercials, yes, but I have easily just as much seen Hidden Valley Ranch and carrots on my TV as I have Chips Ahoy. So saying that advertising is the sole reason why unhealthy snack alternatives get purchased isn't correct. Now, some may say a tax on soft drinks will help decrease the consumption of unhealthy products, but imposing a tax on sweetened drinks is unlikely to have a lot of impact. As it has been demonstrated in other products like alcohol and gasoline, tax increases do little to reduce consumption and are mainly a way of increasing tax revenue for governments. There is also no reason to expect a ban on the advertising of food and beverages to children would have the effect of lowering junk food consumption. Children do not buy groceries, parents do. The cons of having a diet consisting of a lot of sugar-ridden foods are well known, and parents who consistently let their children pick what they want to eat for the week are ignoring easily accessible evidence on the hazards of such an unhealthy diet. An article on the SIRS database states how part of raising children is teaching them to resist temptation, including the dangers of an unhealthy diet. It's an issue of parenting, not advertising. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, and the World Bank supported pressure on the South African government to ban tobacco advertising. The research that people believe support their side isn't 100% fact-based. Of course, there are the people who quote all types of research showing how advertising influences consumers. There is also the pro-advertising group quoting all types of research showing that media can only persuade consumers to switch brands, but cannot force them to buy cars, start smoking, or try drinking alcohol, for example. And no one truly takes notice of the fact that Canada, Denmark, and New Zealand all tried banning alcohol ads and found it had so little effect that they reinstated liquor advertising again. If you were to look at all that research on both sides of the advertising argument, the majority of what you would find is paid for by organizations wanting to make a point, either for or against the topic, making all the so-called research used biased and inaccurate. There is also no doubt that products high in sugar and salt are equally unhealthy. In fact, a few years ago, the WHO declared obesity to be the world's #1 health problem. That's right, not smoking or alcohol, but people being too overweight and unhealthy. The problem is that trying to solve alcohol abuse and obesity by banning advertising is said to be like treating cancer with an aspirin and a pat on the head. Clearly unhelpful. Banning advertising is not going to stop alcohol abuse. Alcoholism is a disease. People who drink themselves into oblivion are not going to stop doing it because there are no more alcohol ads. It's also absurd to assume that advertising persuades children to eat fast food. It's not advertising that does that. It's their parents. Banning advertising won't prevent parents from giving their kids money to buy lunch or go to the mall. Kids eat a lot of junk food because they are allowed to and because they are encouraged by peer pressure. Ever seen a commercial promoting drugs or crime? Didn't think so. In fact, for smoking and alcohol, the main cause of children and teens turning to these acts is simply peer pressure. If you ask any young adult why they started smoking or drinking, I'll bet none of them blame advertising. All of them will tell you it's because their friends or parents introduced them to it. The sad part about the banning of alcohol, fast food, and other advertising is that in 10 years, most likely nothing will have changed. It will still be a problem, and the only result will be the loss of thousands of jobs in the media, advertising, and marketing industries. Thank you.